Hello Euro Football Daily fans and welcome back to the Transfer Review, where we take a closer look at the paper talk from across the continent. As ever, I'm joined by the one and only Pato.
Pleasure to be here.
Both got our pins out, wearing shorts, you're welcome. And our headline story today, Pato, is Isco to your North London rivals Tottenham on loan. Now this one's from the Mirror. What do you make of it?
I don't like it at all. I think he's a quality player. I could see why Tottenham would be after him. 24 years old, fits the profile well. This is a young team and they want to grow together. And actually, Tottenham struggled a couple of times last season, I felt, when Christian Eriksen was missing. He's their one out-and-out creator in that side. He's an exceptionally good creative midfielder, and Isco would back him up nicely or even supplant him. Now, this is a guy who's averaged a goal or an assist every 180 minutes over the last 2 seasons of La Liga play. That's pretty good for a guy in that withdrawn role. He also manages 1.8 key passes a game and 3 successful dribbles. So he's a good dribbler, a good creator, very high technical level. All these things seem to make sense. I'm not sure that he gives you enough defensively to play in the 2-man role. That 3-man band in front of the midfield 2 seems very, very solid to me, with Eriksen, with Lamela, and sometimes with Dele Alli or Moussa Dembele. I'm not sure where he fits in there because he doesn't do enough. We hear about him behind the scenes potentially being a little bit of a problem, potentially not working as hard as he could. And if I were Pochettino, I'd think I've got an incredibly hard-working, coherent squad. I'm not sure I want to introduce a disruptive element.
And let's take a look at why Real Madrid may want to sell him, Pato. Zidane often deploys that 4-3-3 system with the likes of Casemiro, Modric and Toni Kroos embedded in that midfield 3. Now, you alluded to his defensive contribution earlier. It actually comes in at under 2.5 tackles and interceptions per game. That sort of contribution is not going to displace any of those 3. And he's not enough of an attacking threat to displace the BBC up top. Who is, guys? Who is? Can only see this happening if there's a sizable loan fee involved and an obligation to buy at the end of the season for around that 30 million valuation. But we don't see any legs in this one. He's staying where he is for us. Too late in the window to replace him anyway, Pat. No?
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we head over to Germany, where Julian Draxler might be on his way to PSG, according to Kicker and Bill, for 75 million euros. Oi! The 22-year-old white man is, however, a very enticing player, and we could see why they might go for him. Isn't that right, Chris?
That is absolute cheddar, my friend.
And
I could see why they would want him, Pat, regardless of the fee. He's a very elegant player, he's very flexible, he can play on either wing, he can play in that number 10 role, and he was sometimes deployed at centre forward, predominantly whilst at Schalke, more so than Wolfsburg. But fitness is an issue for this guy. He only completed 1,500 minutes in the Bundesliga last season. He was very productive in this time though, with 5 goals and 5 assists, and he completed 3.5 dribbles per game, which equates to a 71% success rate, mate. That's 10% more than Lionel Messi.
Hello.
Mental.
What a stat that is.
Absolutely mental.
Those are Patrick Van Straten numbers, mate.
And with Cavani seemingly out of form, did anyone else see that highlight reel on Twitter? It's a disgrace.
Horrendous.
And Augustin maybe not ready as of yet to take up that forward mantle. This guy could be a solution, albeit an expensive one. However, Pat, he's only completed 50% of his team's games in the last 3 years when you add up all those minutes.
That's rubbish.
So would this be too much of a gamble for 75 mil?
Well, 75 mil is an awful lot, but we don't even know if Wolfsburg would accept that. Klaus Allofs, who's the sporting director of Wolfsburg, has said that Draxler will not leave this summer, and his buyout clause is not actually in effect until the summer of 2017, so he's not able to force the issue. Now look, they really relied on this guy last season in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne, who went off to Manchester City. They really needed him, even though he did contribute limited minutes. But now that Andre Schürrle's gone, I'm not sure that they'll want to lose another wide man in the same summer. We've also heard that they're making a bid for Tottenham Hotspur's Heung-min Son, who's obviously a versatile wide forward. So that would kind of also tally with the picture that he might be feeling out a Draxler sale. But we're not entirely sure. Kicker and Bill, normally pretty reliable. The fee, absolutely ridiculous, but not when you're pissing oil money, as we know PSG tend to be. That's in pissing oil money all over me. Done now. So this one we don't see happen.
The next signing on our radar is everybody's favourite Frenchman. It's Samir Nasri. Yay! And he's slithering his way over to Sevilla on loan for the season with a view to a £17 million move, according to our friends at The Sun. Now, this is a little bit puzzling, Pat, as Sampaoli has just signed the likes of Vasquez, Sabria, Correa from Sampdoria, I believe, Ganso from Corinthians, so they can all play in wide positions. Is he going to fit in his system? Is he a high-pressing midfielder? Does he give his all for the team? Arguably, yes. I remember seeing him in the Manchester derby where he covered about 11 kilometres in one game. So he has got that in his locker. When he's not injured, he has got a good engine. And interestingly enough, Pato, the guys he's brought in have had come at an average age of 25.
Right.
And the guys he's sold come in at an average age of 29. So he's sort of swapped youthful exuberance for experience. So he may want to bring some of that back in. Now, Nasri has a lot of Champions League experience. Obviously, they're going to be competing on that front this season. So he could be a really valuable asset in terms of an older, wiser head who knows how to play in multiple systems. Just called Samir Nasri wise. Didn't think I'd be doing that today. But what do you think, Pato?
Look, I mean, if I were Man City, I would be trying to shift this idiot. He's not been registered for the Champions League squad, understandably, given the strength that they've now got in these attacking midfield positions. They've obviously got people like Silva, they've got Raheem Sterling, who, ironically, despite his name, has actually seen his stock rise over the last couple of months. Gabriel Jesus will obviously be back at Christmas. That was a Brexit joke, You're welcome. Leroy Sané hasn't even started a game yet. Absolutely phenomenal wide player, one of the outstanding young forwards in the world. They've also got Nolito, who has contributed pretty well so far, despite his fairly obvious limitations. And look, Samir Nasri is on an absolutely disgusting wage, right? He earns £140,000 a week, reportedly.
Dear.
Now, for that money, what they got last season is 12 appearances. 12 appearances and 4 starts. However, in those minutes, very limited minutes, he did get 2 goals and 2 assists. Now, partly that reflects how dominant Man City can be at times, but it also shows that if Samir Nasri actually gets on your pitch, he is still a quality attacking player.
He did show that against West Ham as well, with that very fleeting sort of 15 minutes he got at the weekend. He's still got it. He's a very good player. There's no disputing that.
Yeah, and look, Pep Guardiola might be coming around to that point of view as well. He recently said of Nasri, his quality is on another level. Now, he might mean the basement level, but you know what? Samir Nasri has high technical ability, and we've no doubt that he could contribute to Jorge Sampaoli's team.
Now, this comes from both AS and The Sun, and when that's happening in both countries from both media outlets, there tends to be an iota of truth in it at the very least. Now, he's a very good player, too good to be sitting on the bench. He's a disposable asset for Manchester City. As we say, he could generate at least £17 million. We think this one might happen.
Next up, it's the transfer shocker. Knee, touch my knee, weird. And this week we talk about Joe Hart. He's on his way to Italy, to Turin to be precise. And he's not signing for Juventus, oh no. He's signing for the mighty Torino. Now look, if you were Torino, why would you not be after Joe Hart? He is clearly a Champions League quality goalkeeper. He is, despite what people say. Everyone's down on him at the moment because Pep Guardiola doesn't want him, and people think they have to have the same opinions about football as Pep Guardiola, otherwise they're idiots. That's not true. Joe Hart is a perfectly good goalkeeper. And look, Torino might be flush with cash. They may be selling Maksimovic on to Napoli for around £21 million, and they might turn that money around and use it to pay some big wages for Joe Hart. And this makes perfect sense. Their goalkeeping situation is a little bit up and down. Their backup goalkeeper has bounced around some lower league clubs. He's called Alfred Gomis. He isn't terribly impressive. And their first choice goalkeeper is a guy called Daniele Pedelli. Now, he's already conceded 5 goals in 3 games this season. This season just gone, they finished 12th. The one before that, they were 9th. The one before that, they were 7th. This is a club that's kind of on the slide. And what would arrest that slide is signing a bona fide superstar in Joe Hart. He is an excellent goalkeeper, and I can completely see why they've gone for him.
And if you're Joe Hart, you're thinking, okay, I go out for a year on loan, I come back reinvigorated, I do my best to impress in another league, and maybe I'll get my chance then. But no, it doesn't look to be that way. He signed Claudio Bravo on a 4-year contract. A 4-year contract at 33. So it looks like, and I hate to say it, but that's that for Joe Hart at Manchester City. He's a fan favourite, but Pep's dispensed of fan favourites before, much to his avail. You know, you look at the likes of Deco, Ronaldinho and Samuel Eto'o leaving Barcelona when he first came through. and they're hard decisions to go against now in hindsight. So looks like the fans are going to begrudgingly have to trust Pep on this one, and Joe Hart is going to be going to the Italian derby. And this brings us to the Q&A, Pato. It's a fan favourite.
Yep.
It's a new feature.
It's my favourite.
Let's see what you guys left us on last week's video. Question number 1 from Hawkeye, Pato, is where do you think Fenerbahce are going to finish this season?
Oh, it's a great question. I've been waiting for this one. As a huge fan of the Turkish league, I know.
He also loves a bit of hummus.
That's also true. Look, they've added some strength this summer at the back particularly. They've brought in Martin Skrtel and Gregory van der Wiel. These are good signings, but they've also lost some players, Christoph.
They have lost some very experienced heads, Pato, in the likes of Nani, old boy Bruno Alves at the back, and who else? Kani Erkin, who went off to Inter Milan, who apparently has already surplus the requirements, which is pretty hilarious. But we think Galatasaray remain favourites and Besiktas probably a close second, so maybe third.
The next question, number 5. What happened to the iPads? That comes from Micah Murdoch.
Well, we both forgot them yet. Again, Micah, so, you know.
Next question comes from Finn Girl, and she says, where will Benfica finish? Question mark. I assume she means this season.
Well, they were back to winning ways, Finger, weren't they, over this bank holiday weekend, beating Nacional after that disappointing draw with Setúbal last week. Sporting remain the pace setters. That's 3 wins out of 3, but they might be losing Slimani and Adrian Silva to Leicester City.
Yeah, that's right.
In a sensational double swoop. So we'll see if that swings the balance of power. They have had quite a quiet summer after losing Sanchez, haven't they? Although they signed Zivkovic from Partizan, I believe, who rejected the likes of Liverpool and Barca to go there, and he looks like he has huge potential. So he might be one to watch. Yeah, it certainly will be interesting to see who battles out at the top, Sporting or Benfica. So first or second, shock. Next question is from Johnny Nathan Patrice, and it is, what are your Prem predictions, mate? I guess we'll just do top 4.
That's an excellent, if unoriginal question. Chris is right. Top 4. Manchester City, number 1. I believe they'll win the title. Number 2, Chelsea, benefit from no Champions League. And I think they've looked they haven't played anyone of note, but they've looked really, really good so far. 3rd, Man United. They've got too many moving parts. All of them need to gel, and I still think the squad's a little bit short. 4th, the specialist is going to be Arsenal, I think. Big Game asks, who is the best right back in the world?
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That is a very good question. At the minute, you've got the likes of Philipp Lahm, can never exclude him from that list. Danny Carvajal is playing really, really well for Real Madrid. Juan Fran for Atletico.
Sure.
Hector Bellerin, Kyle Walker in the Premiership. But for me,
Dani Alves even?
Yeah, Dani Alves. Dani Alves, a goal or an assist every 3 games for Barcelona across his entire Catalan career. It's got to be him, right, in the modern era?
For me, it's Philipp Lahm. I think that he's just got everything you could possibly want from a fullback and more. And look, Hector Bellerin is certainly one of the best attacking fullbacks in the world, but Lahm is just so complete. Like, both-footed, can play in midfield even.
Yeah, when your right back can play centre mid, you know his football intelligence is off the fucking chain. Yeah.
Pretty filthy.
Right, next question comes from Santiago, German for Wales vagina. Right. Pat, if you were Arsenal manager, what would you do first?
It's a great question.
It's another great question.
It's a question I ask myself every night before bed.
Look, not right before bed.
Well, during. Look, the first thing I'd do as Arsenal manager, probably sack the medical team and hire... Hire Eva Carneiro. She's still unemployed. She was probably pretty fucking good at her job. I think that
Your first move would be to hire Eva Carneiro.
Too right it was. Too right it was. Eva.
It's shocking.
Hit me up on LinkedIn, Eva.
So that was this week's transfer review. Have we missed any stinkers? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our 10 most violent fans in world football. There are some next level scumbags in that video.
And as always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Catch you next time.
Whoop, whoop. This shirt fucking stinks.
Of course it does.
That is disgusting. Why have I put that on?
This is very detailed.